support expanded background checks or possibly limiting certain types of weapons or magazine capacities? And would you support legislation that required background checks for private gun sales? And we'll begin with Rick Collins.
Yeah, you know, we have, right now, if you want to buy a gun, if you go to a federally licensed dealer, they put you through an FBI background check. That covers about 70% of all gun sales. But you've got the loopholes of private sales if I sell to an individual, or internet sale, or private gun shows. So if I've got bad intentions with a gun, I'm not going to go to a federally licensed dealer to buy a gun. I'm going to go to the other sources. It makes no sense to have background checks unless it's universal for all gun sales. I'm not against, I'm for the Second Amendment, and I'm not for taking guns away from private citizens for recreation purposes and private protection, but I am for universal background checks. Thank you.
Okay, James Aberhart.
I believe in the Second Amendment right. I have no intention on supporting any legislation that will take away an individual's gun right. You know, that's part of the Constitution. What I look at as it pertains to gun violence, I do believe that there should be more legislation to have oversight over private gun owners. We need to do that. And the main focus would be to, number one, get those guns out of the hands of criminals and out of the hands of our young people. That is the main reason. We need to add that other layer there for security, you know, and that is, you know, universal background checks is good. You know, on the same token, and I tell anyone, nobody's going to take your gun. It's part of the Constitution. So why are we spending time worrying about that? But we should worry about, you know, getting guns off the street. I can relate to this, you know, as some of you may know. My father was killed on the streets of Mobile. So I often talk about having my blood on the streets of Mobile. Some of my friends and relatives were killed. Gun violence. It's serious and it's real. And so we need to do something about it, and we need to be proactive instead of reactive.
Kiani Gartner.
Sure. So my husband's a big hunter. We have guns in our home. In fact, shortly after we got married, he wanted me to have my own shotgun so that we could shoot clays together. And we bought it from a private sale. And we showed up and we gave this man dollars and he just gave me a gun. And I was, surely this is not the end of it. And it was. And in that moment, I became very, very aware of just how accessible firearms are. I would never take away someone's gun because I would have to answer to my husband, and he would probably have strong words about that. But because we have guns in our home and are responsible gun owners, we espouse a philosophy of responsibility. I teach my children that guns are tools, they are not toys. They do not play with them, there is no mystique around them. When we have a society that normalizes guns to the way we normalize driving in a car, it should not seem crazy to think we should have the same level of regulation for our guns that we have for cars. There should be a background check for every gun sale. We should consider things like registration so that we know who's got guns and how many, and if a gun shows up, we can track it to someplace. I imagine law enforcement would probably be helped by that. We need to treat our guns as ubiquitous as they actually are and be responsible in legislation that removes the mystique and allows people to have their sport, their hobby, in a way that is responsible and is safe.